Okay, so we are right at the boiling point. I'm sure you can see all this foam here that's risen up. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take it off the heat, and we're going to add in the malt extract. Just dry this off here. Now the reason that you take it off the heat is because when you pour in the malt extract, like I said, it's very thick. So as soon as this stuff is poured out of its container here, it's going to go right to the bottom. And if you have it on a heat source, it's going to scorch the malt extract, and it's going to taste very, very bad. It's going to taste very burned. Smells so good. So here we go. I've got my spoon, and we'll just keep it moving while we pour it all in. See how thick that is? Like I said, you want to keep it moving around. You want it to dissolve as quickly as possible. And if you keep it moving, basically it won't burn. Oh, gone foggy. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There we go. Once you're pouring and it reaches a certain point, it all just kind of just dumps. It must be once the air gets all up in it. Okay, so now for the most part I've poured out the bulk of it, but you can still see there's a lot of malt extract lining this container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over here to the faucet, and I'm going to fill it up with the hottest water I can get. Basically what that'll do, it'll rinse out the inside and we'll get all this extract. We want to get as much of this into this pot as we can because it really will make a flavor difference. So we'll grab our cap and we'll head to the tap. Okay, I filled it up about halfway with hot water. And what we'll do now, just sort of mix it up. Try to dissolve off as much of that malt extract as we can. You can see it's already going much cleaner. That's a lot better. See? You can get all that out, just a little hot water. And in it goes. Perfect. So now we'll just keep stirring it for about 45 seconds to another minute, just to make sure that it's all completely dissolved. And then once we are finished with that, we're going to put it back on the burner, and we're going to bring the whole mixture up to a boil. Once we get it to a boil, that's when we'll start adding our hops and our Irish moss. Okay, we'll go ahead and put it back on. Get the heat back on. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this heated back up to a boil. And as soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to add my entire addition of the hops that came with the kit. These were the Fuggle pellet hops. Alpha acid 3.6% if you're tracking that stuff. And basically, because of its recipe, this will be the only hops that we add to it right at the start of the boil, and we'll boil it for an hour. The last 15 minutes we will add a teaspoon of Irish moss. This will help it clear out all of the solids that were imparted to this through the hops, through the specialty grains. This will sort of help it coagulate and settle to the bottom. One very, very important thing, once you've got this is full, I've got it filled up to about here now with the wort, and as it comes to a boil, it's going to start frothing. What this froth is, it's a protein basically coming to the top and in the bubbles. It makes it so the bubbles really don't pop very well. You'll want to be very careful and keep your eye on this part of it, because you don't want that froth to boil over. It'll burn, it'll smell terrible, and it'll mess up the outside of your pot, and it'll take you forever to scrub it off. So, word to the wise, if you're going to do this, make sure that at the start of your boil you keep a very close eye on it, just to make sure that it doesn't boil over. So, once this comes up to a boil, we'll come back. Okay? Thanks. Okay, so we are at a rolling boil now, so now we're going to add our hops. Much like the hop break, when you add your hops in, there is going to be another recurrence of foam. So you're going to want to be careful and keep your eye on it. One tip, I always keep a squirt bottle handy. Just in case the foam gets going too fast, you can just spritz it and it won't boil over. So here we go. See what I mean? Smelling like beer. Okay, so now you can see that the foam has died down. Basically the hot break has now been reabsorbed down into the wort. So now we just need to boil this for about an hour. And at the 45-minute mark is when I'm going to add my Irish moss to help the solids in this coagulate and settle down to the bottom. So, we'll see you guys in 45 minutes. Alrighty, so it's been 45 minutes, and now we're going to add some Irish moss to this, again, to kind of help it all coagulate and help those solids settle out, so our beer will be a little bit clearer. Obviously, it's going to be a darker beer, an oatmeal stout, so it's not going to be clear. It's not going to be, clear as a Pilsner, but it'll help to sort of get some of those solids out of there. So this calls for 1 teaspoon. Add it the last 15 minutes of your boil. So I'm going to put in just under a teaspoon. So like I said, I'm not boiling a full batch here, so, or a full 5-gallon batch. And there you go. It's just that easy. So we'll keep boiling for another 15 minutes or so, and once we get to that point, we'll put the lid on it, and we'll get to cooling the wort down.